before we get to Drew, I want to bring up one other thing. The reason that baseball awards segment that we just talked about, right, and how Strider and Steele aren't on there, and I use the phrase, we're too close to the sun on this. The reason that it also got triggered for me yesterday, and we do guessing lines yesterday, so I can't get to everything else, but Bill Barnwell did a half-season awards column at ESPN.com.
Oh, I was going to maybe have us do that this week.
Oh, well, so I'm jumping the gun. Once again, I have screwed Kelly out of his segment.
But what did Bill Barnwell have to say? I'm assuming our answers are going to be different from his.
Well, so I just, again, juxtaposed against the Strider-Steele thing, that they're not even in the top 3. When you look at his half-season awards, right, they're most of the things you would expect, right? His offensive, he did 3-2-1 all these, right? His offensive rookie of the year, Stroud 3, Stroud 1, Nakua 2, Bijan 3, right? Coach of the year, defensive rookie of the year, Byron Young 3, Jalen Carter 2, Devin Witherspoon 1. Defensive player of the year, TJ Watt 3, Max Crosby 2, Myles Garrett 1. Crosby might be a little different for some in there. Offensive player of the year, McCaffrey 3, A.J. Brown 2, Tyreek 1, MVP Mahomes 3, Hurts 2, Lamar 1. Nothing too ridiculous in any of that. Coach of the year. Again, juxtaposed against our baseball conversation. Sirianni 3, Dan Campbell 2, Mike Tomlin 1. So I just want to, again, I don't know that Bill Barnwell represents voters. Maybe he's just on an island. But I'm just saying what we think we're convinced of in awards markets, we might be so far off with what actual humans are thinking. His whole thing, by the way, if you read his capsule on it, was he gets that they're an anomalous 5-3, that they've been outgained in every game, that they're just, by the way, they almost have the most negative yards in all of football when you do it net. Only the Broncos have it worse after last week. But his point was somehow they've gotten to this.
Right, it's the magic beans, and somehow Mike Tomlin has the magic beans.
But instead of viewing it as this is not sustainable, he's viewed it as magic beans. And he also points out it's kind of like he doesn't want to give a Lifetime Achievement Award, but he kind of in the same sentence does give a Lifetime Achievement Award. Because Tomlin, not only has he never won Coach of the Year, he's never been in the top 5 for Coach of the Year, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that is.
Steelers 5-3, killing all of Kelly's under tickets. Sorry about that.
Yes, they are.
Drew Dinsick joins us, ladies and gentlemen. Whale_Capper from both the Deep Dive podcast, Dinsick Classic, which he does with Andy Molitor, and, of course, NBC Sports Bet the Edge. How you doing, Drew?
I'm good. I assumed Kelly's groan when you said he had Tomlin 1 for Coach of the Year was like, I feel like, don't get my hopes up here, man. I want to be done with these guys. Like, I feel like it's pretty dang likely the Steelers are going to lose some miserable games down the stretch here, and that's going to go up in flames. I don't want my hopes up here because we all scooped Tomlin Coach of the Year preseason, thinking that a team expected to finish 4th with some talent and any kind of step forward on offense could somehow, some way, capture the imagination of the Coach of the Year voters. But the offense has taken a step backwards from last year so far. So still need to see some improvement. But at the same time, like if the Steelers have gotten some of their bad games out of the way and they play some of their good games down the stretch, then it's not inconceivable that they get a playoff spot and he gets some support in the voting market. But I love the Coach of the Year discussion because I think it's a two-coach race right now. Even though there's you can make cases for you can make a credible case for I think 6 guys. But right now I would put 2 at the top. And I think it's an interesting conversation because the 2 share a division, and whoever wins that division, I think probably wins the award. And it's Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell. Yes. Kevin O'Connell is interesting at 25-1 because he could, there's a legitimate case he could steal this, right? Like if he wins the NFC North, then Dan Campbell has a 0% chance of winning this award, right? Like Campbell's candidacy depends almost entirely on winning the North, right? If he fumbles the bag there, then it's over. And what's funny is if you look at the Vikings schedule, it's not especially impressive. There's, they have to play the Bengals, but that's the only kind of likely loss until you get to the later stages of the season. And they finish with a home game on Christmas Eve against the Lions. They get the home game against the Packers the next week, and then they finish at the Lions the final week. So 2 of their final 3 games happen to be against Campbell himself, and wins in those games would potentially flip the division and give him the inside track to that award. And I think, just as an objective, who deserves it right now? I mean, Dan Campbell's doing what we thought he could do with a good team. Kevin O'Connell is exceeding expectations in ways that I did not think was possible this year. So, I think I'm not trying not to be reactionary to what was the most impressive single game of coaching we've seen by any coach in as long as I can remember, where he is literally in 15 seconds describing to Josh Dobbs, what he will see in a upcoming play and succeeding against a decent defense on the road with, that much quarterback adversity was unbelievable from the Vikings on Sunday. But, you take it in a larger context, the fact that the entire Vikings team, after, being kind of a fraudulent 13-win team last year, the fact that they're better this year and that they lose Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins and even Christian Darrisaw last game, like those are your 3 most important players on this team. And yet the defense is outperforming expectations. The team overall is just, does not look like they would not be playoff frauds if they make it, as far as I can tell you, especially if Justin Jefferson and Darrisaw come back at some point. So
I agree with every word of that. What happens if, and it's not likely to happen, but what happens if the Houston Texans somehow win the AFC South?
Yeah, Ryans has got a credible case too. He's one of the 6. I would put Ryans. I would put McDaniel in there, although McDaniel has gone from like number 1 to number 6 because he keeps losing these high-profile games. But there's really just it's not as wide open, I think, as the market is currently making it. And I do think that there is a pretty clear misprice, at least on Kevin O'Connell, because, again, like in the same sense that, you want to have a bet on a player that has the opportunity to, or player, coach, whatever, that can literally control their own destiny. And Kevin O'Connell beating Dan Campbell and literally flipping that award is where you want to be, and which basically says any kind of highly liquid market that gives you an idea of what the true probability of the Vikings winning the NFC North is. I think that should be his Coach of the Year price.
Just after spending a segment saying we're too close to the sun on some of these awards, we get even closer to the sun on NFL Coach of the Year. I think it's a great discussion, and I think you make a very good case for the path, anyway, that it would take for Kevin O'Connell to get there. You have a number on Kevin O'Connell?
I bet it at 21 yesterday after we had this conversation.
Yeah, interesting.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.